Okay, we put new strings on this instrument, we cleaned it, we put new strings on the instrument, and it plays well. But let's say it didn't. Let's say the nut was too high. Let's say the nut was too low. Let's say the bridge saddle was too high or the bridge saddle was too low. Because you want to change the height of the strings, the action of the guitar, the way the guitar plays. Well, here's a little bit of information that perhaps you can learn something that will help you do that. Okay, now I'm going to show you how to take the nut off this instrument. And what I do, the strings, leave the strings on, just loosen them all. And I take my ruler, put it underneath the neck, getting all the strings away from it. Okay, I have a file and a dead blow hammer. It's a fret hammer actually, but also use it to take out the nut. Now, this nut's going to pop out really easy. Some nuts, because it sits at the end of the fretboard, there's nothing behind it on the headstock side. Some guitars sit in a groove and are harder to get out. Now that's something you really have to play with and learn how to do and take it out from the side. So I would start with acoustic guitars or guitars where are like this where nothing's behind it. Because you just lay the file here, smack it with the hammer, and it'll pop right off. Now if you are going to take out nuts that are in a groove, do it from the side. First cut with a razor both sides of it in case there is any glue. Don't try and go too deep. And then gently get something like a little chisel, a little screwdriver, and hit it from the side. But I would recommend doing it with nuts like this first. Okay, here we go. Lay the fret like this, hit the back of it, pop right out. Here it is. I have a nut here, and I have a piece of thin cardboard. I'm going to show you how to do it with a little bit of a raise and a big raise, a little shim and a big shim. And you would do this if you're playing the guitar and it's buzzing with the open strings. The only time the nut comes into play is an open string. So if you're playing it and the truss rod's in the correct spot and you have a good amount of relief and it's still buzzing, that means, and once you fret it in the first and you play it, the buzz goes away, that means it's definitely the nut. So the first thing to do to raise the nut, take a little bit of an instant glue, put it on the back side of the nut, and glue it down to the piece of paper. I'm out of frame. And glue it down to the piece of paper. But don't glue yourself to the nut. There you go. Just glue to the nut. Just take a razor blade and carefully, without cutting yourself, trim off the excess, just like this. Carefully trim off the excess, like this. There you have it. I've raised the nut. Now I'm going to do it with a thicker shim, this piece of plastic. Got a pair of fret pliers, which I like to cut with. Do use them on fret work, but they're perfect for this. You could do it with a scissor, whatever works for you. I cut a piece out. This happens to be a kind of a smooth plastic, so with some sandpaper quick I would rough it up. Same thing, bottom of the nut, glue. Get a good hard surface to glue on and push down. This is a piece of brass that is really flat. Hold it down till it's dry. Pushing on it. Okay, once it's dry, what I do then with my fret pliers again, I trim away the excess all the way around. Okay, here I have a piece of 80 grit sandpaper. Put it on my flat surface and file it down on the side now to where it's the exact same size and width as the nut I had that I started out with. On all four sides. There you have it. I raised the nut. Now that piece of plastic would be a pretty big shim. So if it was just a little bit you felt it needed to come up, then use the piece of paper or 2 pieces of paper or a card or whatever, business card or whatever works. If you think it needs to come up quite a bit, get yourself a thin piece of plastic. Okay, now I'm going to do it with a saddle of an acoustic guitar or the bridge. Same thing. Glue on the bottom. Hold it to the piece of paper or cardboard, this is a business card, till it dries. Once it dries, trim it with the razor blade and you've raised it a little bit.